Hey, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for joining me today on my Tuesday live stream, which is really early for me. Relatively speaking, it's 7 a.m. here, oh my God, I'm sorry it's so late. But I literally woke up like 2 minutes before the stream was supposed to start. So I had to just kind of slap on a shirt and make a quick cup of coffee and come out. I stayed up really late last night trying to finish up a video on I was making. Oh my goodness. And it's funny, it's a video about the Panasonic S5, and I started it with all kinds of tests, right? Comparing images between that and the EM1 Mark III and doing some video autofocus tests. I spent most of the day just working on that. And then when I started watching it, I said, I don't really want to talk about any of this, Uh, so I ended up scrapping that whole project from a whole day's work and using just making a new video about what I really wanted to talk about on that camera. And wow, so I was up really late. I think I only got about maybe 3 hours of sleep, or 3.5. It was a little after 3 when I finally was the last time I remember looking at the clock anyway. Oh my goodness, let's see here. So I'm so sorry. I look tired and I started late. I know. I know. 4 a.m. is in 4 a.m. where you are, Scott. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I that's a little after I went to bed for me. And but I'm definitely after the streams today, and I'm taking a nap. Good morning, Marcia. Good to see you. Are you still in the area here in DC area? And Jeff Painter's here. Awesome. John Yutze. Good morning. Serge. Walter. Oh my goodness. How are you? I know, waiting for me as usual. I know. It's terrible. I really got my sleep schedule down so that I can get up early now. It took a couple of months at least, right? Uh, so I don't think going to bed late like I did this today is going to mess it up, you know, too much. You can kind of get right back in the sync, but getting that sync or that rhythm of getting up early took me a long time. So I'm feeling pretty good. I actually woke up before I set the alarm for 6 a.m. I actually woke up a little before that, and then when it went off, I couldn't get the stupid thing to snooze. I kept saying, Alexa, snooze. Well, I can't say that name, but I kept saying snooze, snooze, and it wouldn't. So I just said, okay, stop, right? And I thought I'd just wake up in 5 or 10 minutes, and then, oh, God, I woke up like an hour later. Ah, just like when I used to have a real job, 20 years ago. Or, man, it's been, yeah, it's been almost 30 years now since I had a day job. Okay. Oh, it didn't help that you took my afternoon. Oh, yeah, Walter and I were talking, a little bit. We're thinking about doing a live stream together. Walter is a good friend of mine, and he's a local photographer here in the DC area for portrait photography, and he's also a Capture One affiliate, and he's a moderator for, I think, some of the Capture One forums. So he's very competent, and he also has his own channel for Capture One. And Capture One is a photo editing software, for those of you not familiar with that term, Capture One. So look for that in the coming streams very soon. We're going to have Walter Rowe as a guest, and he's a really good editor too, needless to say. And Rob Shoot Photos, how are you? Mr. Macro Guy. And Casper, wow. We got two macro shooters here. Rob Shoots Photos and Casper. They're both hardcore. Well, I wouldn't say hardcore, but they really enjoy doing macro photography. And Peter, how are you? Question, when I shoot two softboxes positioned more than 45 degrees to the left and right off-center axis, lens to photo subject, I get noticeable shadows in the background. One half, okay, one of two. Is the subject too close to the background? That and your lights are, I would say your lights might be too close. Um, it's kind of a mixed bag, right? Or too far. It depends, really. What causes shadows, right, is the light source. And then if your subject's too close to the background, it's not going to matter how. The Wow, it'd be easier if I had a diagram, but the smaller the light source relative to the subject, the harsher the shadow. Uh, so in theory, if you move the light source closer, it makes it larger, thus reducing the shadows or softening the shadows. But then the fall off of the light is much harsher too. So that can create shadows because of the inverse square law. So the easiest solution, yeah, just move the subject away from the background if you can. If not, it's probably wouldn't be a bad idea to use a third light behind the subject just to eliminate the shadows. That's what a lot of photographers do is they put a third light behind the subject and then slightly overexposed, so you have to shoot in manual. But it depends on what color the subject is or the background is, or if it's a textured background. I mean, there's so many variables there. But generally speaking, if you can, move the subject away, bring the lights closer to soften the shadows, or make them larger, use a larger umbrella. But best bet is probably if you can work in a third light and adjust your exposure so that the background, if it's a white background, you can overexpose a little bit, um, for that high key look. Yeah, Jeff said the same thing. You can light the background. Uh, I hope that helps. I'm not really a portrait guy, but just understanding how lights work in general. Larger lights create softer shadows. The further away the light is, the smaller the light is relative to the subject, so the harsher the shadow. And but in most cases, it would have to be. It has to be. I'm so tired. I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Yes, in most cases, you have to add a third light behind the subject. And Rob Shoot Photo says, you may see a bit of travel photos from Arizona running out of bugs to shoot. Running out of bugs to shoot. Running out of. That's what you said. Wow. How is that possible? There's so many bugs. Who's the other macro photographer here? Oh, Casper. Casper Nyberg. You can find him on Instagram. He shoots a lot of moths, and mushrooms. Anything that starts with an M. That would be a cool little project for photography, right? Just pick a letter in the alphabet and say, I'm going to shoot everything that starts with this letter. And Roberto says, formatted my card in camera. Any chance to recover it? Yes, I use a software called Recuva that works pretty well. If you're using a PC, I don't know anything about Mac, but it's a free software, and I'll just type it in here, Recuva. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's what it's called, Recuva. That's what I use. It works great. If that doesn't recover it, really, I can't think of anything that would, but it has a special feature for SD cards, right? Not that they're really formatted any differently than any other hard drive on a PC. So, saying that they do SD card recovery is a little bit of an overstatement. But yeah, that's what I use. All right, and let's see. Oh, that's cool. Somehow Ulf was able to share his Instagram link. Awesome. Let me copy that. I feel like I... Oh, nice. Lots of bird photography here. Oh, that's not the right screen. There we go. Yeah, here's Ulf's site. Our Instagram page. Very nice. Wow. Look at that. My goodness. Good job. Definitely will check out more of that later. Very nice, Ulf. Let's see. And anyone tried Wudang? How are you? Anyone tried the new Nisa Nano Pro Natural CPM? No. Promises the most natural colors and best polarization. I have no idea. I think you mentioned that thing in another stream. Let me see what that looks like. $99. Oh, sorry, you guys can't see that. Wow. But let's see, not too many reviews. There's 11, 16 reviews here. Let's see which one has the most reviews. All right, this one has 16. Circular polarizer, that's probably... Wow, it looks pretty good. One star. Because it doesn't fit his lens cap. Jeez, come on. It's funny what people give 1-star reviews for. Somebody gave a 1-star review because it doesn't, when he puts the CPL on, his lens cap doesn't fit anymore. I don't know, would you do that to somebody? I mean, would you give a 1-star review for that? Wow, that's crazy. Oh, hi David, how are you? David Crooks is here, and let's see. Rob Shoot Photo says, it's getting cold here, but I get out a minute, it's 50s and higher because other than spiders, there's not many bugs out right now. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I forgot that's the only thing I like about winter is there's no frickin' bugs. Because, oh my God, in the summertime, the bugs, the mosquitoes in particular. I had one here the other day during a stream because we had like 60-some degree weather, and somehow they're just hiding and come out when it gets warm. I thought one good night would kill them, you know, one good freeze. Guess we haven't had that yet. We had maybe one night this year that was below freezing. Oh, you ordered the 150 to 400. Wow. And you're using the EM1X with the 300 f4. Yeah, I figured, man, because those images are tack sharp, and that lens is amazing. I should have bought it when I had the chance. I had a chance to get a brand new one for right around 2,000 even, which is about $800 less than it is right now. I just can't believe how much prices went up on that lens. And let's see, Roberto, I got a Hoya 10 stop for 50 bucks or 50 Australian dollars. 50 Australian dollars. That's good because that's like what, about $1 in the US, right? I can't believe how expensive things are in Australia. It's crazy. I had a viewer in the stream last week. And I struggling to pronounce their name. Matsua something. Matuez or Matez or Matt. I'm serious. I don't know why I was struggling with it, but they messaged me on Facebook, and they're from Poland. I was looking at prices in Poland, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, they weren't as bad as Australia, but they were higher than here. So we have it kind of lucky. And during the winter, Rob says, during the winter, I may set up bird feeders for a bit of bird. Yeah, those work great, if as if you don't know already. But I was thinking about filling up my bird feeders and doing some bird shots. I had another reason that I wanted to do it. Now I can't remember. I was going to do something. I said, oh, if I fill up my bird feeders, the birds will start coming, and then I can do this. And it wasn't specifically to get bird shots. Now I can't remember what I was going to do, because that's all the bird feeder does is bring birds. I was thinking about something very specific. It'll come to me later when my brain starts to wake up. Oh, wow, I'm a little bit behind on the comments, but yeah, that's ridiculous. That's stupid. I think we're talking about the 1-star review because the lens cap didn't fit the filter. And John Yutze says the consumer reviews are often bimodal. They either love something or hate it. Yeah, that's a good use of the word bimodal. That's something about vocabulary. You learn all these words, and then if you never use them, you know, and then you forget them. But then when you see them again, you remember them, kind of, right? But and Marcia says, yeah, we have bugs all year round in Florida. Come on down. Oh, yeah. I will come down to Florida. What? I forgot. You're in Miami, right? What part of Florida are you in? I do need to come down to Florida soon. Oh, Walter, I do remember what I was supposed to do today. We were talking yesterday, and I kept thinking, what is it I got to do today on Tuesday? There was something, not, other than the stream, because this I remember, but it did come to me. I have to go see my mom at 4:30 today. I forgot to put it in my calendar. And Thomas Zazauskas, how are you? He says, you may have answered this before, but does the silent shutter count against the total shutter count? I think they keep the counts separate. So there's a way to go in to like a secret menu on the Olympus, and they have the shutter count there. And I remember on one camera, I think it was EM10, it did count silent shutter in addition to mechanical shutter. But then on my EM1s or a little higher model camera, it did not. It kept it separate, if I remember correctly. So it shouldn't count against the shutter count, but I believe it does on older Olympus cameras. I'll have to explore that. But you know who has a video? There's only 2 videos on it. One of a guy I can't remember, but then Robin Wong did a video on how to see the shutter count. So he showed you the buttons. It's like Street Fighter. You have to do all this finagling around of the buttons to get into it. Like you press and hold the menu button when you turn the camera on, and then it's up, down, left, right, something like that. And then let's see if I can remember from just rote memory. Let's see if I press and hold the menu button, turn the camera on, and then do up, down, left, right, down, menu. Oh, and then you have to go into the display menu or the live view screen. Yeah, I'm not going to remember. You get one button wrong, it won't go in. But yeah, Robin Wong definitely has a video on that. And then you'll see different line items for shutter count. And so what I did is I went into the menu, I looked at all the counts, I pushed the shutter button mechanical, went back, looked at the counts, then I turned it off, pushed the shutter button on silent, went back into the menu, looked at it, and looked at the counts. And if I remember correctly, it was keeping them separate. But I don't have an exact answer for you. Unfortunately, it's been too long. But I can see if you're trying to make a camera buying decision and you have the opportunity to look at the camera before you buy it and you want to check the shutter count, that's one way. And there used to be a site online that you would upload your JPEG image or RAW image. I think you uploaded your JPEG image to the site and it would tell you the shutter count from the exit data somehow. I know it worked on my Nikon. I don't know if it'll work with Olympus if they store that shutter count in the JPEG exif data, but there was also a site that did that. So you can probably search for that on Google, you know, shutter count. And Peter says, OBS question, what is the scene element that shows the browser? It's called browser, actually. Let me see. If I add scene, yeah, it's literally called browser. Let me finish reading the question. Is it the screen capture, window capture, or something else? The OBS browser built-in element seems to only show pages statically. No, what I'm using for like the chat window over here, over here is a browser window. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's what I'm using, and I don't think there's any settings on it. Yeah, I don't have any special settings. I mean, I have some CSS settings, but nothing else. Okay. Jeff Painter says Robin had a video. Yes, Robin Wong did have a video on shutter count. And John Yutze says, when I film my feeders, bird feeders, the squirrels are very happy. Fill your feeders and get squirrel shots. Yeah. You know, that's one of the reasons I stopped using my bird feeder a lot. Not because of the squirrels, but because my dog Ellie is really good squirrel catcher. So if they're out there getting the bird seed, which, you know, I don't mind at all, right? I would love to buy those corn on the cobs and things and throw them out there for them. But yeah, my dog would, you know, she definitely takes them out time to time. So what I have to do is I have to put the bird seed out and keep Ellie indoors for half the day, which I don't like doing, because that's when most of the birds, they come early morning or they come late afternoon. So I'll fill up the bird feeder and keep Ellie indoors for a few hours and then let her out, because most of the birds are gone by then. But the squirrels, they are out all day long and they're constantly trying to get at that bird feeder. And if Ellie is out, it's a problem. So I feel bad, you know. I mean, it's kind of fun watching her chase them until she actually catches one. Because man, when it's been really dry and she goes flying out there, the dust, you know, starts flying up as she's running. I've been trying to think of a way to capture that on the camera or on film when she's tearing out there, and and there's dust flying everywhere. Because one time I said, oh, I'm going to try and do this, right? So I set up the camera in the one place that when she runs out the back door, she always goes to. And so I set up the camera and I came back indoors and then I opened the door and she goes tearing out, but she, you know, she takes a hard left this time instead of going her normal beeline to the one corner. I was so frustrated. I was like, Ellie, 99% of the time, you always go straight beeline to this one corner, And today you decide to take a hard left, because sometimes she'll hear something on the left as she comes out of the house. So she'll take that hard left and go over there. So I'm going to have to set up multiple cameras in the yard and have them all going at the same time, and then let her out and see what I capture. And then it's going to take several tries on top of that, because you never get the settings right the first time you try something, right? But now that it's fall, I have like a bazillion leaves in the yard, so when she's running, the leaves go flying everywhere. So it should be just as interesting. Okay, the shutter readout is so fast on the M1 series. Do you really need a physical shutter? Rarely any difference. For full frame, its crucial readout speed is much slower. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, physical shutter, yeah, if you want to do flash, definitely. And there's still some rolling shutter effect. Albeit it's minimized a lot with the EM1 Mark II and 3. I don't know about the EM1 Mark 1. But yeah, you still need it if you want to do any kind of flash photography. Although I think flash will work at like 1/30th of a second shutter speed. There's some speed that flash works at in silent mode. I forget what it is, but it's pretty low. There's a setting in the menu for it too, somewhere. It's been so long. I mean, I never need to use silent shutter with flash, but Peter says, tell me more about the secret menu on Olympus. Is that kind of a diagnostic menu containing factory stuff? Yes, the EM10 Mark II definitely has it. Yeah, that's the first camera I've used. And like I said, you press and hold the menu button when you turn the camera on, or is it the OK button? You do some, like I said, there's some Street Fighter sequence to it, right? To get in. And then there's like 4 different menus at least that you can scroll through and look at. And there's another site that explained a lot of that on the Mark I series, but the Mark II series added some stuff. But it gives you some insight to what they keep track of. Like I think one of the line items is the internal temperature of the camera, shutter count, obviously. I forget. There's a bunch of other things in there. And Thomas says, thanks. Oh, you're welcome. I forget what we were talking about. Oh, the shutter count. Wow, what time? 7:30. I'm not too far behind. And Roberto says, dirty sensor on one camera and dead pixels on the second camera. Cleaning kit came in today. Wish me luck. Yeah. Good luck. Yeah, I don't think dead pixels can be fixed. I think Wudang is right. You have to run the pixel. There's a utility in the camera to look for dead pixels and turn them off, and fill that pixel with the surrounding pixels, kind of. So what it does, if you got a dead pixel, what it does is it takes the data from the pixel next to it and fills in that dead pixel before it writes it out to the memory card. Yeah, pixel mapping. Thank you. That's what it's called. But it's not truly fixing the dead pixel. It's just a patch, literally a band-aid on a dead pixel. And let's see, pixels or sensors have hard glass on the front. I would imagine they'd have to, but yeah, I'm gonna have to clean my sensors. They used to do it at the camera store. Like once a year, Olympus would come out to the camera store and offer free cleaning. But I seriously doubt they're gonna do that. They didn't do it this year because of the the pandemic. And now, who knows, JIP, I guarantee, is not going to do it. So, And Rob Shoe Photo says, enjoyed your stream with Robin Wong, learned some things I didn't know about you. No need to talk about, but when you got married a number of years ago. Yeah. Wow. I forgot I even mentioned that. But yeah, that was a long time ago. Oh, we were talking about Malaysia, right? Yeah, that's right. Film at slow motion, 120 FPS. Yeah, I was thinking about that with my TG5. I have like 720 FPS on that. I guess all the cameras have 720, the EM10 Mark II, but it's at like a 640 resolution. 60p is actually fast enough. I have filmed her running at the dog park at 60p, and that's actually not bad. But 120p, I think my EM1 Mark III does that at 1080. So I have to try that. I've never shot 120p video on my OMDs anyway. I've done it on my TG5 once or twice. You know, like with some waterfalls and things, it's kind of cool. But I've never really, it's not really something I do. It's not my thing. And Jim Jones, good morning. I need your opinion here. I have the opportunity to buy the 40-150 Pro for $750. It is used, has no collar or lens hood, perfect shape, awesome deal. Get it. Get it. You can buy a third-party lens hood, you know, all day long for like 20, 30 bucks, I think. I know some people, what they do is they buy the rubber lens hood that screws on because it has that zoom range, right? So you don't want to get a fixed lens hood sometimes. But a company that makes good lens hoods, or cheap lens hoods, is JJC. I'm sure they have a factory replacement lens hood for it. But if not, a screw-on rubberized, you know, lens hood works well. Man, if I saw one for $750, I'd buy it. I haven't seen that come up locally anyway. I always wait for my camera store to get one. They had one about a month ago, but they're asking $1,000 for it. I was like, I don't know, $1,000. You know, it's not it's not like I make a lot of money, you know. But I'm a photographer, right? So a starving photographer. So I can't just willy-nilly buy things unless I really needed something specific. And that would be a lens I wouldn't be able to write off my taxes because it wouldn't be really for business use, you know, it'd be for personal. So I'd be paying the full $1,000, literally. And Casper says 1/50th of a second on EM1 Mark III silent shutter with flash. Oh, okay. That's changed. Like I said, it's not something I use, but. And Demetrius, hi Rob. Any idea on how to raw video footage looks on the upcoming firmware update for the Mark III and the 1X? No, I don't know. Wong supposedly has a pre-production firmware and plans a video on that. No, but it's coming out in a couple of weeks, right? December 3rd or December 2nd. Then I can do some comparisons because I only have one other camera now, this S5 that does 422 10-bit that I can compare it against. I mean, I know it's full frame and all that, but it'd be interesting to compare the difference in the M1 Mark III by itself. You know, because the M1 Mark III, and actually all of the OMDs, they do 422 8-bit external. And that by itself is actually pretty significant improvement in perceptually how the image looks and dynamic range and everything, because you have more color information. I've tested that on my own. I haven't published anything about it online, but I have tested that because I have an external recorder that does record, you know, 422 10-bit 1080p, but I haven't had a camera up until recently that does 422 10-bit, you know, recording externally. But I haven't tried it really because I will never I will probably never use an external recorder on a real job, like a paid job, because it's just too bulky. You have to really set up a really pretty comprehensive rig to get all of that working on a gimbal. Even if you're not using a gimbal, you know, you have to, you know, that's a lot of extra weight that you have to account for in your setup. Which is part of the reason I got the S5, because it does 422 10-bit internal in the camera. So it saves me a lot of extra accessories. Is it my signal or is Rob not in? Oh, you know, hey, Marcia, I should be in focus. I look okay on my own screen. So maybe check the little settings icon on the video and see if you can switch the resolution maybe to HD or something. It may have downsampled for you. But, oh crap, what was I going to show you? Oh yeah, Marcia. Marcia emailed me a picture when we went on a photo walk this weekend. And she said I could share it. I didn't get to share it on the last stream. But we have a local photo club, and Marcia came up from Florida and joined us in the photo club. So that was really cool. Oh my God, I've gotten so many emails since you sent that. Am I going to find it? What if I just type Marcia in the search? Nope. Seriously, how come? How come it's not showing? It wasn't that long ago. November. It was like November 20, so it had to be. Is it under social? No. Oh, this is frustrating. Where is the picture you sent me? Certainly not under promotions. So we went on November 20, right? Where's my calendar? We went November 21st. We went on that photo walk. So it can't be, it's got to be right here. Oh my God, here it is. Why couldn't I see that before? Let me save it to my desktop so you guys can see it. All right, sorry. Wow, that took a long time to find one email that was right in front of me. Let me switch over. Isn't that cool? All right, let's do the autofocus. Oh, seriously. Where's... Let me do it this way. There we go. So that's me on the left. And then there's Marcia there in the middle. Hi, Marcia. And then there's David Crooks on the right. And all three of us are holding our Olympus cameras. And we have our photo club hats on that David manages or runs. And of course, David's wearing an I Shoot Raw photo from Fro, one of my favorite channels actually on YouTube as well. And then we all have our masks on. Marcia has the best mask though. So that's cool. That was really, really a great day. That was the day I got the pictures of the columns and everything. So that was cool. Oh, Peter, oh, you found the video from Robin Wong. Is it only 1 minute? That's good. It shouldn't take that long to show you how to push like 2 buttons, right? um, Pixel mapping, yep. Peter says, by the way, same with the secret menus and car radios. Oh, yeah, I've seen some of those videos uh, where you can kind of get into the car's diagnostics sometimes. Uh, Diagnostic data through the radio. It's really weird. Sometimes, like, I remember I was on my Beetle. It was like some combination of your wiper control stalk and buttons to get into the secret menu. Silly stuff like that. I mean, you know, when I was a lot younger, it used to be fun hacking into different things that you're not supposed to see. But now, you know, I'm like, if they wanted me to see it, they put it there for me. I don't really need to see it otherwise. Brian says, Rob, definitely not in focus. And then Jeff says, sharp on mine. Well, I'm not in focus personally because my eyes are still tearing up from just waking up. And I haven't taken my allergy medicine yet, come to think of it. Usually when I wake up, I take, you know, like 3 different allergy medicines. And because I woke up like 2 minutes before the stream, I didn't get a chance to take anything. Is that coffee or tea? It's definitely coffee, Dion. And got the 40 to 150 brand new for $1,000 during Amazon sale last year. Have never seen that deal again. I know, right, Marco? Last year, prices were really good a year ago on lenses. And I figured they could only go down. But yeah, I was wrong. Even on the used market, now you can buy them used for the same price you could have bought them new last year. It's really frustrating. Okay. What's this button do? It's not doing nothing. Sorry. Music Sound Gear, how are you? Good morning. You're welcome, Demetrius. And let's see. Serge says, I found on Amazon for 28 euros an SD card Lexar Professional 166.7 by 128. Go SDXC UHS2. Is it worthy on Olympus EM10 Mark II? It'll help. It'll make your camera a little snappier. But only really if you do continuous shooting high. Like if you do the continuous shutter, continuous lower, continuous high, you will notice a difference in the performance of the camera because it'll offload those images faster onto the memory card. But I don't know. I forget. I forget 166 what that means exactly. How fast that is relative to say megabytes, right? Because I'm used to reading speed on an SD card in terms of megabits, right? So 200 megabits per second would be kind of a really good speed. 300 megabits per second is probably about the fastest. I've seen on a dual H, a UHS2 SD card. I have one that I bought like 4 or 5 years ago that gets a little over 200 megabits per second. The SanDisk Extreme 2, but I paid like $100 for that for like 32 gig. I think prices have come down since then. I haven't really shopped UHS2 cards since buying that one because I'm like, you know, I'm not a sports action kind of shooter, so I don't need a really super fast card. But what I would do is read the reviews. Usually in the reviews they have people post their crystal disc marks. Let me just pull it up for you real quick. So I know a lot of people shop SD cards. This is kind of a relevant topic, actually. Oh, let's see. On Amazon. So this is the card, right? And you're talking about the 128 gig. I think that's what you said, right? So just go down to the reviews, and usually somebody will post an image of their crystal disc mark, like right here. So looking at this, right, the read speed at 260 megabits is pretty solid, right? That's a good speed. Um, but the write speed is very slow, only 100 megabits. So I probably would not buy this card personally. I would buy a card that has read and write speeds over 200 megabits. But that's a one-off description, right? Let's see. This is the, this doesn't say. That's probably read and write. Yeah, this guy is also getting 103 megabits right here on the write speed. So that's two people. That's enough for me. So if we actually look for SanDisk Extreme Pro UHS 2, excuse me. Oh, this is not a UHS 2. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Sorry, here's one. This is the card that I bought, but I bought a 32 gig version. So if we go into the comments, yeah, see, this is more like it, right? This is 178 megabits on the write speed. I mean, there are people that look at these other three numbers down here for more information, and sometimes they make their decision based on these smaller sequential read and write bits, because that's really more relative to when you're working with smaller files, which is more common on hard disks than I think it is on a memory card in your camera. So I think that's why this level up here makes more sense than these smaller 4 kilobit type file sizes. Let's see what else people got. This one, ooh, this guy got 100 megabits right. But this is more in line with what I normally get. I normally get these kind of speeds. So anyhow, hopefully that helps. I don't know, Roberto. There was a lot of glare in that shot. He's asking about the edit I put up. I'll talk about that in the next stream. I didn't really look at it that closely, but yeah, it wasn't that sharp, so I blurred the heck out of my edit, because I did actually edit that photo myself. And Wudang says, I don't really recommend the use of external recorder. I have the Atomos and I would never use it outside. It's a pain to carry. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. You need a pretty substantial rig if you're going to start using external recorders. And that's why I got the Panasonic, so I don't have to do that. And the GH5, you know, there's Micro Four Thirds that do 422 10-bit internal, like the GH5. And among others, the Blackmagic Cinema 4K camera does it. There's lots of alternatives, but I ended up with the Panasonic. And Marcia says the loveliest time of year is now through March. Yeah, I bet. I'm missing the whole conversation with Marcia here. I'm sorry. But uh yeah, I went down to Florida like during Christmas one year, or Christmas season, not on Christmas Day, I don't think. I think it was right after Christmas. But I'm walking around and it's like, 80 degrees out, Fahrenheit. And there's Christmas lights and, Christmas tree decorations everywhere. And I'm like, God, somebody's lying. It's like 80 degrees out. How can it be Christmas? My brain just didn't click. Um, but yeah, I love Florida. I was so tempted to move to Florida, and I've kind of ruled it out now because of, the hurricanes all the time. So I'm thinking maybe a little bit further north, like North Carolina or Tennessee, kind of in that area. So just a little further south, so we still get cool weather, but not freezing cold like we get here in the DC area. And nothing like New York. Oh my God, I went to New York. That is down to the bone cold weather. Oh my God. I don't know how people in Alaska, North Pole, like all these crazy regions live. I was watching this video on TV about this some weird small niche tribe or something in Russia where it gets like minus 30 degrees out there, Fahrenheit, well below 0 Celsius, well below, out in the Sierra. And it was like, I think it was like a little bit below 0 degrees Celsius out there. It's definitely below freezing. Not a lot. It was just below freezing. And this guy's out in his t-shirt and shorts, because that's warm weather to him. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. He's like just in his t-shirt and shorts out in freezing weather. But that's to him, it was relatively, and his whole family, their tribe or whatever, it was all like just like a summer day out. Oh, anyhow. Now that we're talking about, my feet are getting cold. I forgot to put my shoes. Normally I put my shoes on for the stream because my feet get cold when I sit down too long. And let's see, the loveliest time of the, okay. And then Thomas Zazaska is asking, what are the advantages, disadvantages of using reversing ring versus extension tubes for shooting macros? Well, I think the advantage is there's less light loss, right? Because you don't have to push the lens so far away from the sensor, so you get more light gathering ability. That's probably the two biggest advantages is that, and then the second biggest advantage is you get much bigger magnification, right? Much more magnification than you would with an extension tube. I have a video on macro that I use a reverse ring versus extension tube, so you can kind of watch that one if you haven't already. It's my most recent macro video. I have some older ones where I didn't use a reverse ring. The disadvantage is the rear end of your lens element's a little bit exposed, right? You could easily scratch it because you have to get very close when you reverse the lens ring. So your working distance, that's a disadvantage, is very short. But you get terrific magnification. And I think really that's about it. And it's difficult to focus. Moving the focus ring almost has no effect on the focus of the macro object when you're trying to focus on it. So what you have to do is, if you don't have a macro gear head where you can turn knobs to move your camera in very fine increments, up, down, left, right, they sell these things for very fine macro adjustments. You really need one of those to make it a little bit easier. But I just used my tripod stock upside down and just moved it up and down until it was in focus, and you'll get there, right? But so yeah, focusing and working distance a little harder. So in macro extension tubes, the advantage is the opposite, right? You have a much larger working distance, but then you lose light, right? You have to work with higher ISOs or slower shutter speeds. So that, that's kind of that in a nutshell. And Wudang, is the photo club all about Olympus? No, it's just photographers. There's people there with all different cameras. It's just uh, we were Olympus shooters. We got and Marshall was an Olympus shooter, so we all pulled out our Olympus cameras. And ironically, the person that took our picture is also an Olympus shooter. Um, it's another David. And then there was a couple of Canon. There's at least three Canon shooters and a Sony shooter that I can mentally think of or remember, I should say. But yeah, everything. And there's one guy who shoots film, everything. David Tellett. And Too Old for Toys is here. Oh my goodness, how are you? He's been a follower of mine for since almost day one, when I started 4 years ago. Wow, you know what? We're coming up on my 4 year anniversary here. Uh, let's see. And Walter says, remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about an Ollie Zoom telephoto that had the audio switch on the side. Did you ever figure? I think what that does is it puts the camera in silent shutter mode. That's my guess. I don't know for sure, but there's an audio switch button on the lens, and I think all it does is put the camera into silent shutter mode. That would make more sense than having a microphone in the lens. That would be ridiculous, right? The stream is coming up in 144p, but I auto switched it. If you click the oh, okay, yeah. So anybody is seeing a very soft image, particularly like of the chat section here, it's probably reducing the bandwidth output. It might be me. Maybe my bandwidth is not outputting like it should be this morning. Let me check my signal. Of course, now we're almost done with the stream. It's a little late to be checking that. It says, no, it says I have an excellent connection, so we're good. Whatever that means, right? All right. And then let me see here. I think the X speeds will go all the way back to CD-ROMs when the first 1X speed ROMs were 150, 4X speed was 600. Oh yeah. Thank you, Simon. You're right. Oh my God, I'm so behind on the chat, but because I haven't talked about the X speeds in a while. We were talking about SD memory cards. So I usually, if it's a popular memory card, I just look in the comments at the crystal disk marks. And Peter says 300 megabits write speed on an SD card. That would be super fast. Yeah, I think there are some cards that do that. I think. I mean, what I'm seeing now from the SanDisk is we're getting about 200 write speeds. And I guess, oh, thanks, Walter. There's a text from Walter. 300 megabits, that's pretty fast. Yeah, that's almost a SATA drive speed, right? SATA drives typically do, 400 or 500 when it's on the computer. And externally, depending what kind of USB port you have, you can get up to 500 megabits typically. But hard drives, you deal with those really tiny files a lot too, right? System files and things, and that's why those other numbers in crystal disk mark are displayed to see how good the drive is at dealing with tiny files. But anyhow, yeah. Wudang says, I had 3 card companies died on me within a year: Samsung, Lexar, Sony. Then I got SanDisk and still working after 4 years. Yeah, SanDisk is pretty solid. I did have one Samsung kind of fail on me, but I've talked about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. There's a couple of brands of SanDisk that you can get. Where's my other SanDisk card? There's this one, right? Let me see if this is working. I'm using, David Crooks, I'm using your my Manfrotto 55. I bought this from David. Let's see. There's this one that's red in color, right? Don't buy this one, Samsung Evo. What you want to do is you want to buy the ones that are green in color. Where's it? It's probably in here. Yeah. You want to buy these. If you're going to buy Samsung, you want to buy the Samsung green ones. They're also called the Samsung Evo, but they're the Samsung Evo. Oh, it doesn't look green because I have a green screen on. Let me. Of course, right? 1 second. So now it looks green, right? But the Samsung Evo Select is green in color, like this. That's that. Now my green screen's gone, of course, right? But that's the. If you buy those Samsungs, I've had very good luck, and the reason being is the Samsung Evo Select is made specifically for distribution by Amazon and nobody else. So the chances of getting a fake Samsung card from Amazon, if you buy the Amazon Select Samsung brand card, are extremely low. I've never gotten a fake card, no matter which ones I've ever bought. But when I do buy, I buy the green Samsung Selects. And they've worked great for me. This Evo, this green one, or the red Samsung Evo that I got, it's failing on me. It's a 256 gig card. I probably paid like 40 or 50 bucks for it. I don't know if it's real or not, you know, so I can't blame Samsung at this point. But any of the green ones that I buy have always worked. But this red one is not from Amazon and it's failing on me. So that's my experience. Take it with a grain of salt, as they say. Samsung, they only care about speeds, especially their SSDs. Wow, I think there's about 1,000 million people that would disagree with you on that, Wu-Dang. And Samsung 980 Pro can only write 300 terabytes, but has a 7,000 megabit speed. I need a little more context for that because there's a lot to SSD technology other than read-write speeds, right? You know, there's the how much cache is reserved for the read and write process, because they use the same memory on the SSD as they do for the regular storage. The cache memory is just as, you know, the SSD memory is just as fast as cache memory, so they use all SSD memory. And then also the SSD controller that manages the file system, and then how large is the file. I mean, there's a lot of tech there that really goes over my head about how SSDs work. And, you know, just looking at a couple of specs like 300 terabyte versus 7,000 megabit speed, that's a little bit out of context. You kind of need to look at a lot of other different things before you make a decision on what kind of SSD drive to buy. And I'm not really a technical expert, but when I was buying SSDs, you know, particularly the external NVMe drives, I was really looking at, because the NVMe drives are practically 100% cache memory. I really got into all of that, all of the fine print about the different different technical specifications about how SSDs work, how the, all the different chipsets, and the different kinds of controllers they use. Uh, I can't remember now, but when I was researching it, man, I was a genius, right? Or I thought I was, and I ended up buying a Samsung Evo for one of my computers, and then for my other computer, I ended up buying the cheaper Intel 660p drive because the performance was sufficient for what I was going to be using it for. So I saved like $100 buying it that way. But yeah, there's differences between TLC, MLC. There's all kinds of different types of SSD technology on top of the other technical specs. So with an SSD drive, the most reliable, I believe, is MLC is better than TLC, but there's another one. I think it's SLC. I can't remember. But it's a single layer memory drive, and they're really expensive. Those are server quality, like enterprise quality SSDs, and they're very expensive. So you probably won't find those on the general consumer market, but the MLC is better than TLC. And then they have the quad NAND tech, which is kind of, like I said, when I was researching it, I knew all about it. Now I can't remember because I got what I need. I'm going to have to buy another SSD soon, so I might start reading into it again. Oh, Wu-Dang. While the ADATA 4 Gen NVMe can write 3600 terabytes with half the speed. Yeah, I have to look into that. When I get back into looking for shopping for NVMe drives, I'll look into it. I just can't remember now. Just found out Blackmagic are Australian. Oh, that's interesting. And yes, Wudang, you bought that 6K camera. Yeah, we need to kind of talk about that a little bit soon. Once you kind of get a better feel for it. And then Walter says, reversing ring lens turn into a projector that projects onto a sensor. Yeah, with the sensor only seeing part of the image, it acts like a crop. That is true. So you want to get, I'm not an expert on reversing lenses onto a, I used a 50 millimeter lens, I believe. So the circle of projection when you reverse a lens is different than if you use, say, 25 millimeter reversal, prime lens. But in my case, I used a 50 millimeter, and it worked fine, but my working distance was very close. But I think the other things I said about it still hold. I have a newer macro focus rack. That is the most complicated tilting ever, or thing ever. It's sitting in a box in the closet, yeah. And Ali said it turns off the beeps in the camera. That is what the audio button is lens for. Oh my goodness, yes. So I was right. Well, at least it turns off the beep. It may not put the camera into silent shutter mode, which is electronic shutter, which is what I should have said. Maybe that's all it is. It only turns off the beep, but the camera may still be in mechanical shutter. That I don't know. Good morning, Corna. How are you? You always come in last minute. I'm just about to head out. And Scott says, I use a Delkin Black UHS-2, 300 read, 250 write. Wow, that's really good. And you just bought a SanDisk Extreme Pro 128 gig for $25. Oh man, I gotta start shopping. I need another 512 gig card. I only paid $50 for my last one. Why 60 FSP? Not much sense, but that's my opinion. You can save quality, but yeah, I changed the settings somewhere in my software somehow. Part of the challenge I have is my Olympus cameras that I use for the streams. When I hook up the HDMI port, none of my HDMI capture cards will work unless I set the camera to 60p, right? 60 FPS or 60p. So that by default limits the shutter speed to 60 frames per second if I have to use the video in 60p. So I'm getting that signal and putting it into my capture card, so it's coming out at 60p. So I think that's why I set the frame rate to 60p in the OBS software. I could change it to 24p, but it might start to look choppy because I'm inputting a 60p signal. But that's why. That's why I'm at 60p. Good morning, Corna. Yep, Telkin. Let's see. And Peter says, what do you mean NVMe is practically 100% cache? Well, I could be wrong there, but what I meant was NVMe uses the fastest memory available, so I'm making the assumption, maybe I shouldn't say that because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking out my butt. But NVMe uses the fastest memory available, so I assume it's basically all cache. But that may not be true. But when I was researching NVMe drives, what led me to that assumption, I should say, was that they were saying that the controller reserves a certain amount of memory from the total drive space on an NVMe drive for cache. That's what I read, was that a certain part, the NVMe controller reserves a certain amount of the cache, certain part of the memory of the total drive space for cache. And as you fill up your drive, you know, as the hard drive space starts to fill up, it'll reduce the amount of cache it has available for those whatever kind of operations that they use for caching. So that's why I said that. You know, there is where's Marco? I forget who it is. Is a real technical person. He would have the right answer, the exact right answer. I was trying to I was speaking out my butt there a little bit, but that's where it comes from. If I'm totally wrong on that, I take it all back. So that's that. Oh, cool, John. I look forward to seeing that. Yeah, the XC1 and XC2 are virtually identical. I can't think of any differences other than I think the XC1 has a viewfinder, I think. And hey, this isn't Sunday. Good to see you. Oh, hi, Adam. How are you? Good to see you too. Rob, how much would you guys pay for an EM1 Mark II limited edition with battery grip? No more than 400 bucks, US dollars, if it's in excellent condition. The lower the better. And let's see, lots of things here about between Peter and Wudang. And that's the end of the chat. "300 terabyte write on SSD usually lasts 5 years, exactly when the guarantee drops from." Oh, okay, that's right. You guys are talking about the life of the life of the drive. That's right. Like I said, it's been a while. It's been I don't know why it feels like it's been over a year, but it hasn't been over a year. It's only been about 6 months since I was shopping for an NVMe drive. When I was looking into all of that. Yeah, the life expectancy of the drive, and that's partially to do with the tech, right? If it's an MLC, TLC, or there's even higher levels, quad LCs, you know, QNAND or something. The more stacking that they do on the memory storage to increase the drive space, the less the life expectancy. And also, one of the best things you can do to improve the life expectancy of an NVMe drive or SSDs in general is try to keep at least 20% of the drive space free. That'll increase performance. You know, more importantly, it increases performance, but it also increases the life expectancy of the SSD by some factor, you know, whatever that is. No one's been able to ever test it enough to give you a hard number, a reliable number, because everyone's use case is different. But I have seen tests where people did try to make a drive fail, and it almost didn't matter what the life expectancy was stated by the manufacturer. All the drives sort of lasted about the same amount of time. In the last study that I saw, and that was a while ago, so leaving 20% of the drive space free on your NVMe or SSD was one, and then there was one other thing that increases the life expectancy. You know, heat. Yeah, keep it nice and cool. Heat is really the #1 killer of electronics, more than anything else that they do. Heat is really the biggest one. So I've never seen my hard drives get over 50C, but if they can run at 40 to 50C in that range, you'll be okay. So I use external NVMe drives for most of my work, and I only keep, you know, some things on my internal. Mainly because the internal SSD doesn't have a lot of space on it anyway. And the XZ2 has no EVF. You know, because John Tellett has the XZ1. I'm just trying to figure out what the difference was. Maybe it was the lens. I can't remember. In 8 minutes. Oh, okay, yeah, I need to get going. Oh, hey, Rick, how are you? Yes. Looking blurred again. I know. The bugs. Little fruit flies. I gotta eat my kiwi. So let me get going. I appreciate everyone's time this morning. I'm sorry I came in late and was looking like this, but this is like really the best way for me to start the day is hanging out with you guys and chatting. I really appreciate your time that you're spending with me today. And I'm going over to my photo editing live stream next, so I may start that a few minutes late as well, but I'll be there editing your pictures and looking at the ones that you edit of mine. So thanks again for joining me today. And you guys have an awesome rest of your day.